So this is Ramie. This is a bast fiber. It's a plant fiber. It's basically a weed. And I took this fiber and explored how it blends together with wool. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about this fiber. I'm going to talk a little bit about my process for blending it together with wool, how I spun it, and the kind of yarn that came out at the other end, and why this entire exploration has been one of the best things that's happened to me and my spinning for the past while. So hey there, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Felicia from SweetGeorgia and also the School of SweetGeorgia. And now I have to tell you that this video was so challenging for me to make because I was looking at this fiber and trying to figure out how do I explain to you what this is, why I like it or don't like it, why I enjoyed this process or didn't enjoy the process. I was trying to figure out how to explain all of this to you. And so why don't we just start at the very beginning? Now, as a long-time spinner, I started spinning with wool, and then I gradually moved into finer and finer wools as my spinning got better. And then I was the kind of spinner who wanted to experience different fibers, but the different fibers that I wanted to experience were things like cashmere, and I wanted to blend in some silk, and I started looking and playing with different blends like that. And as you know, if you've seen any of my other videos, I landed on one of my most favorite blends, which is blue-faced Leicester wool mixed with silk. I could spin that forever and ever and ever and ever. And all I need to do is just spin that one particular blend. And then recently we added this trifecta blend, which also includes BFL, silk, and mohair. And I love that as well. And so those two blends, between those two blends, I feel like that's all I need. And so for a number of years, all I spun was these fibers, just some sort of combination of blue-faced Leicester and silk, and just kind of ignoring everything else. And so when Kim McKenna started to teach a course for us for the School of SweetGeorgia on bast fibers and how to mix and spin and blend bast fibers together with wool fibers, I was a little bit intrigued. I mean, her spinning is gorgeous. Everything that she makes is beautiful. And so it really inspires you to also want to try that as well. And so this year, February is our fiber prep month. It's fiber prep February. And we decided as a team at SweetGeorgia to sort of focus and explore bast fibers together. Ramie, flax, hemp, and nettle, Himalayan nettle fiber. And just blending together these fibers with wool in different combinations and then seeing how it all works. And so that was the premise for this February. It was just to explore these different fibers, blending them together with wool in different formats, and then making observations about what we liked, what we didn't like, and all sorts of things like that. So at the studio, we have a number of folks who are all spinners who all wanted to play along and try different things as well. And so we sort of organized a day where we're all preparing fiber together.
Pull the wrong way for this time. I use the right way for all the other time. And this time I do it the wrong way. But you know,
one time everyone's looking at you. Which bast fiber is it?
This is flax.
And everybody chose to do a different method of preparation, different colors, all sorts of things like that.
If you want to do a 20% blend, it would be 10 grams of bast fibers, 40 grams of whatever. And if you are using the blending board, you can feed 25 grams for this kind of preparation, because you're not doing roll-ups. You're just doing layer over layer of the two fibers, and then you can feed 20. These are 25 grams each.
So let's first talk about the prep. So step one is that I wanted to process a lot of fiber relatively quickly, which is a bit of my personality. So I have a drum carder that I've had for a long time. It's a electric motorized drum carder. But when I plugged it in and turned it on, I discovered that my drum carder is broken, and for some reason the motor was not actually running. Like, you can hear it going, but it's not actually running. So I actually will need to have the drum carder serviced at some point in time. So I put that one away and I pulled out another drum carder, like a manual crank drum carder that we had at the studio. And again, for some reason, that one was also kind of not working. So I pulled out the third drum carder and just started trying to feed my fiber through here. So the first go round, I had this. I have my fiber. This is all Cordell wool fiber that I blended together with the first pass of Ramie. So you can see it is not very blended. It is very, very streaky here. And so if you want a better blend where everything is a little bit more homogeneous in preparation, then you want to do 2 passes. But the thing that bothered me the most about running this through the drum carder is that the fibers were not going on in this perfectly aligned and parallel format, which is of course the whole point of a drum carder. When you are carding fiber with a drum carder, you are creating this sort of tangle or this spread out diffuse mat of fibers. You're trying to avoid having the fibers line up perfectly parallel to each other and make this smooth fiber prep. So with a drum carder, you're going to create this sort of tangled mess. And when I see that tangled mess happening in front of my eyes, it just causes me stress. I do not enjoy this kind of fiber prep. And so running it all through the first time on the drum carder, I was really kind of disappointed with the whole thing. And so that's when I decided, okay, no. I have to take this home and I have to do this whole second pass through something else that's going to make it a much smoother fiber prep. So you can see that is one of the bats that came off the drum carder, and this is one of the other bats. It's kind of broken a little bit, but you can see just like the chunks of fiber in here that did not blend very well at all. Like this kind of stuff just stresses me out. You know how spinning is supposed to be relaxing and all that. This is completely not for me. So that is when I had to pop out this. This is a lock pop. This is Clems and Clems lock pop. And it looks kind of like a hand card, but with a really, really thick bottom. There's a nice, thick, solid wood bottom. Or it looks kind of like a mini blending board. So you can see that there is a carding cloth on here. The tines are relatively long, so it can actually hold a ton of fiber in here. And then it comes with this little clamp. You can clamp it to the end of a table. And so what I did was I clamped it here in this room, in the attic here. And so I took one of these bats, one of my little stripped down bats, and I pulled it through the lock pop with a diz. So this is what I'm using here. This is the diz that was created by Bob Askew locally. But it just looks like a button with this sort of a concave shape to it. So then I just pull the fiber through the hole of the diz and then through the tines of the lock pop, and it just helps to straighten out the fiber a little bit more. And so it really, really helped blend the fiber together a lot nicer. I was getting basically like a pencil roving at the end of it, but it was a lot more smooth and all of the fiber was a lot more blended than with this first pass. So I collected together all of the fiber that I had done on the second pass through this dizzing technique, through the lock pop, and that's what I ended up spinning. So using the lock pop for a second pass was my attempt to blend them together a little bit more. If you want, you could do a third pass. If you wanted to, you could also do this on the drum carder. You can also take a diz and diz off the backside of a drum carder as well. There are so many different ways to prepare your fiber, to blend your fiber. These are just some of the tools. I just found that this combination works well for me and my personality and what I prefer with my fiber. So I was excited to finally be able to use this because I've had this tool for a while now and I'm scared to pull it out of the box. And so this was great just to have an opportunity to actually use this and realize how fantastic it is for blending. So what is Ramie? So it is a bast fiber, which means that it is derived from the inner bark of a plant stalk, putting it in the same family as linen, which is flax, hemp, and jute. So the plant itself is a shrub in the nettle family. So Ramie is sometimes referred to as poor man's silk or vegetable silk because it's naturally very shiny and it's very strong. So this is one of the reasons why we like to use it in the textile world. It's exceptionally strong. It's one of the strongest natural fibers. It's even stronger when it's wet. The other thing is that it has high luster. So unlike cotton, which has like a matte, spongy, not shiny appearance. Ramie has a natural, silky, shiny appearance. The other thing is that it's very absorbent. It's absorbent and breathable. So very much like linen, it's excellent at absorbing moisture and it dries very quickly. So this makes it a cool fiber. So it's perfect for hot and humid climates. And finally, it's sustainable in terms of being a plant that can be harvested up to 6 times a year, depending on the climate, and typically requires much less water and fewer pesticides to grow than something like cotton. So it's sustainable as a source of materials that we could use for textiles. So because Ramie is a plant fiber and it doesn't have any crimp, it doesn't have any elasticity, it's somewhat stiff, it's like a plant stalk, it doesn't have that elasticity, it's not often used alone as a knitting yarn. So not for knitted garments or anything like that. And so this is why you will often find Ramie blended with something else. It's blended with cotton or it's blended with wool. So when it's blended with cotton, it adds strength to the cotton, it adds a little bit of luster and shine, and it adds some resistance to mildew. But with wool, it also adds the durability, it reduces the shrinkage that you might get with just wool alone. And this is part of the reason why we would blend it together with a wool like Cordale. We're getting the elasticity from the wool, but at the same time, we're getting more durability. We're reducing the amount that it might shrink because you're putting in this non-shrinking plant fiber together with a shrinking wool fiber. Now this past summer during Tour de Fleece, I spun some of the Ramie just on its own, like not blended or mixed with anything. And so in that experiment, I got a chance to feel how stiff this fiber is and how the lack of crimp makes it also very slippery. So when you're trying to spin with it, it's kind of like you have to grab onto it because it can just slip right through your fingers at the same time as it feels a little bit crispy and a little bit brittle. So blending it together with wool makes it a little bit easier to draft and to spin with. And so you're getting a lot of the qualities of Ramie without it being really hard to spin. So I chose with my fiber to go with a 80-20% wool to Ramie ratio. So I really wanted mostly the characteristics of the Cordale, like the elasticity, I wanted the warmth, I wanted all of that, but I wanted the Ramie to have like a little bit of a sprinkle through it all to make it more of like almost like a linen and wool blend, which is like a very interesting kind of blend. Wool is very, very warm. And then meanwhile, these plant fibers like Ramie and flax, they're meant to be a little bit more lightweight, light wearing, like for hot weather situations. So blending a wool together with a plant fiber like this should produce a very, very interesting effect. Okay, so let's talk about actually spinning it. The other thing is that I only spun up a little bit as a sample. You can see my sample of my 80-20 Cordale wool and Ramie blend. One of the things that I've been trying to do is to spin smaller samples just to see if I like the yarn before I go and dive in and spin the whole lot. And so that is why I made such a tiny little mini skein of fiber here. I basically wanted an opportunity to see how it feels to draft this, how it feels to spin this. And so I spun this using my default draft to my Daedalus Starling E-Spinner that I'm using right now. And I typically spin like what ends up being about a DK weight yarn, sort of like a sport weight DK weight yarn. Now, if it is a longer amount of fiber, like a longer amount of yarn singles on the bobbin, then I might wind it into a center pull ball in order to ply from, like do a 2-ply from. But in this case, I basically did a bracelet ply. I took the singles and I just wound it around my hand in that bracelet format so that I could 2-ply from my hand. And so that's where this little mini skein came from. And I wash it and I whack it so that I can get a good representation of what this yarn and what this fiber might be like. But you can see it looks kind of tweedy. It looks a little bubbly in some places. And yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies in here that I don't love. But in any case, it was good enough so that I went through and spun the second amount of fiber. So this is all the fiber that I pulled through the diz, on the lock pop, and it's only been spun into singles right now. And now at this point in time, because there is so much yarn on here, I would wind this into a center pull ball and then ply from this. So that's another little batch of yarn. So I've got this little batch of yarn, I've got this batch of yarn, and then these two chunks of yarn I'm still going to pull through the lock pop and diz them off again, and then spin these ones as well. So I'll have a bit of blue and I'll have a bit of purple. So I'll have these two colors, and perhaps there will be enough to actually make a hat out of these two. All right, so there it is. That's the yarn that I made. Cordale wool, 20% Ramie. It's yarn, it's strong, it's a little bit tweedy, it's a little bit, you know, fuzzy, it's a little bit... I don't love the yarn that I created, but that's not the fault of the fiber or the process or anything. A lot of it is my own desire to make things really consistent and really smooth and really even and really perfectly blended. And so for myself and my personality, I think this doesn't match what I have in mind when I want to spin yarn. But I think that the important thing about all of this is that it's important to try things. It's important to explore things. It's important to try different tools and different techniques and see what it is that you actually like, because maybe there's something that you don't know that you like because you haven't given it a try. And I think that when we make videos like this or we take pictures, we want every single thing that we make to be absolutely a 10 out of 10 or perfect, or somehow if it's not perfect, then it's a waste of time. And I don't think that that's true. I think that it's not. Just by making this yarn and knowing how this fiber behaves, now I have a better sense when I go into the next project. Maybe I do only a 10% blend. Maybe I blend not with a drum carder. Maybe I start with combs or something like that. Maybe I start with a different method, different technique. So everything about this entire process is that it's an experiment. It's trying something new for the first time and seeing where you would take it the next time you go through this entire process. I know that there's folks on our team like Greta who love fiber prep. She's very, very experienced at fiber prep. And I think that the more you do it, the more you have an idea of what you want to do next time. And so I don't consider this a failed experiment. I consider this an experiment where I got information, I got knowledge, I got some experience so that I can make something different the next time. I also think it was really interesting to observe in myself that my desire for certain types of equipment or different types of prep have changed over the years. I think I invested in my motorized drum carder in 2009 or something like that. Like I was really, really obsessed with this idea of having a drum carder and being able to process a ton of fiber. And I think that now when I look at things, I don't necessarily need to process 3, 4, 5 pounds worth of wool. I'm perfectly fine processing smaller amounts of wool, and maybe this smaller amount of wool that I process will become some mitts or a hat. I don't need to do a production kind of process, so that's just a different way of looking at things. So maybe it's possible that you outgrow some of your equipment, or that your priorities or your perspective has changed over the years, and maybe you like something different. You won't know unless you experiment and try new things. So I am curious to hear if you spun any of this bast fiber as well, if you played along with us this Fiber Prep February. I'm also very curious to see what the other folks on our team have created. I know that Greta actually blended and spun with all 4 of the different bast fibers in the kit, and she's making something spectacular out of all of that as well. And I know Charlotte also did some things, and Rachel also did some things, so it will be really interesting to see what everyone has done with their fiber. I would love to hear about your spinning adventures, what you've learned that's new, what tools and experiments that you've tried, and yeah, please share with me in the comments so we can celebrate our spinning experiments together. Thank you guys so much for watching today. If you like this video and if you like to hear more about spinning and the fiber arts, please do hit subscribe, and we come here almost every week to talk about something to do with the fiber arts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye for now.